All right, everybody, welcome to another Friday Mastermind. Every Friday at 9 o'clock Pacific, Trust Engine, Win by Noon, and amazing special guests are here to mastermind on how to win in today's market. I don't know, Shivani, what is this, like the fourth time you've
I think
been
so.
on, you've been in the YouTube channel? So super stoked to have you. I also pumped that you're going to be at the Modern Mortgage Summit in a few weeks. So can't wait to
Can't
see you,
freaking wait.
Shivani. Yeah.
I love the
I'll,
Modern Mortgage Summit.
yeah, I'll formally bring you on stage in just a minute. Mr. Bookspan, any opening thoughts or ways that you want to frame today's mastermind?
I think anytime we have Shivani on here, it's a gift for all of us. So excited to hear what she has to say and the examples that she's going to share and set for us all. And you mentioned Modern Mortgage Summit. So I would just encourage everyone two things. Number one is if you have the resources, I would encourage you to think about joining us live in Vegas. We've extended the early bird pricing is still available to be there. We've got, I don't know, a dozen to 20 seats, something like that, still available. It's 60 seats in Bradley's studio, black leather recliner chairs. It's a lot of fun, and you're going to be sitting there side by side, learning alongside of all of our speakers. So it's an amazing day. And then on Friday, we've got an optional mastermind that I run. It's a 3-hour mastermind that we're doing over at the Cosmopolitan. And last year we had about 40 of us there, including most of the speakers. So it was a lot of fun. And, Jeremy's bringing 5 people from his team. Shayla's bringing people from her team. There's a bunch of people bringing people from their teams as well. So it's going to be an amazing event. And if that's not your budget, then the virtual event is the way to go. And then I would just encourage you to remember that the morning is the Modern Mortgage Summit and the afternoon is the Modern Real Estate Summit. And there's such a great opportunity to host a watch party. We've got a number of companies who bought tickets for all their loan officers. And what I loved is that one of the strategies that Josh Metal put forward to his company, Neo, was what a great way for us to run over 50 realtor events in one day in all of our offices across the country. And so I just thought, wow, what a great idea. And so think about that. If you could just sit literally at your computer with a realtor on each side of you, you could sit in your conference room, you could sit in the conference room of your favorite title company, you could sit in your training room if you got a bigger training room, but it's just a great opportunity and I wouldn't let it go by. It's giving you great conversations, and then it's the mastermind afterwards. It's the fact that you then can actually sit down with each person that you had in that room. You can find out what they took away from the realtors that they watched, what their action plans are, and then you can help be part of them implementing those into their business and growing. And I think there's just no better way to build relationship with your agents. So that's it, Dave. I just have a sales pitch for this morning, but that's my sales pitch, modernmortgagesummit.com.
All right. Well, I like that. I do hope to see a lot of folks at this event live. All the speakers will be there live. And then, of course, it's a $100 ticket. One thing I want to call out as I bring Shivani on stage is that the way we do this is we invite people that we think epitomize what it means to be modern, whether that's mortgage or real estate. And then whatever their topic is, we don't tell them. We don't even try to lead them. And Shivani can testify to this. We don't like, oh, we'd like you to talk about this, or I go, I want you to talk about what you're passionate about. Like if people were watching you, what would you want to talk about? And so today's mastermind, we invited Shivani because we wanted to mastermind with her, but we're like, what do you want to talk about? Like, what's the headline? And she put, all paths to success require you getting out of your own way. And I mean, I think we know that we're our greatest assets and friends. And we also know we're our greatest enemies. So Shivani to me is one of America's most purpose-driven leaders. She's, a top producing professional. She's a mother, she's a wife. She is a change agent. She has a tremendous amount of passion for elevating women in her local community. She does a lot of really cool events to just elevate women in her community and in America. So Shivani, it's good to have you here. Why did you pick this headline? Like of all the things we could have talked about today, what was your why?
I think that we've been taught in the real estate industry a couple tried and true strategies to be successful. And my path to success has been very different. And I deviated from the traditional plan of cold calls and realtor lunches and coffee dates and lenders being the bottom of the totem pole. I found a different way to be successful in this industry and to feel good about working in this industry and to love my job while I was doing it. And so I was thinking like, what enabled me to be able to do it a different way? And it was that I had to realize that one, it was okay to not follow the formula that everybody else is following. Two, it was okay to be in a market with major competitors and still carve out my own market share. And three, I had to get out of my head. Like I had to stop thinking of all these reasons not to do something or creating all these roadblocks for myself and just charge forward. Just keep putting one foot in front of the next and get to the place we want to be. There's so many things, and this is what I'm like fired up to talk about at the Modern Mortgage Summit. There's so many times in our day, especially in running our business, that we end up in this like cul-de-sac where we have a decision, we know what we need to do in our business, we don't do it for whatever reason, and then we just keep spinning in this cul-de-sac around this decision, wasting precious brain space that we could be inspired and use to think of something amazing that would be pivotal for our clients, for our partners. No, we don't get to think about that because our brain is occupied by this freaking dilemma that we've trapped ourselves in, and then we just circle there, wasting days, months, years.
You know, I would love for everyone to just think, and whether you share this in chat right now, again, whether you're watching this on YouTube, you're watching this, whether you share it, write it down. Like, what is one thing that you're not
You're
doing?
stuck on right now.
Yeah, you're stuck on, you know, is it whatever your prospecting goals, 2 hours of prospecting a day? Maybe it is a technology like MortgageCoach. Like, I know that's better and I should do it. You know, whatever that one thing is that you think if you could get out of your own way and get over it, what's that one thing? So please write that down, you know, whether you write it live while we're talking or whether you write it after this. Let's make that one thing that everyone's going to do. And if you do want to share it in chat in any channel, like, I think we would dig that. Like, that would help other people if you did share it. Love that, Shivani.
I've been thinking a lot about like how people are mentally right now, people in our industry, but also consumers. Because if you look at affordability over the past few years, I'll speak to what's happening in my market. It's taken a sharp hit with interest rates being higher, inventory being limited, prices staying where they were. Affordability is at a tough spot. And so I'm in graduate school right now and I have access to like research databases, which is so cool. So I plugged in housing affordability and mental health. And I found a study that they had recently done on the correlation between housing affordability and people's outlook on life, their like literal will to live. And they found such a strong relationship between these two things that they urged lawmakers to make housing affordability a health equity issue. And then I'm thinking about us as loan officers and realtors. And I'm like, shit, if we're not recognizing our role right now, our power and our ability to support people, we got to wake the fuck up because we have a huge opportunity right now to change the course of people's lives and support them through something really difficult. And everybody on this call knows you help someone get through a crisis and you are like their person for life, right? You're their realtor, loan officer partner for life. You're their lender for life. You're their advisor for life.
That was hard hitting, and I don't know if you saw all the hearts that you got here in Zoom, but you know, guys, here's a slide from the First Home IQ ambassador deck. But guys, this is the wealth gap in America. It's who owns versus who rents, and when you look at the data and the demographics, this wealth gap is only widening. And to your point, Shivani, there's a lot of bad data in the market. There's a lot of confusing information. I'll put a link to these slides in chat. But guys, this is a couple weeks ago in Instagram, where Josh Altman, the #2 most followed realtor in America, was asked by a reporter at Fox, you know, what do you think about buying a home today in this market and the challenges people face? And he said, it's not a bad idea to rent. It's okay, especially in California where the tenant laws are very strong. Maybe it's not a bad idea to be a renter. Guys, that is bad advice. And I love where you're coming from, Shivani. Love that message.
I think that we have to stop and ask our clients a question. I had this call yesterday. I've been updating every Friday. I reach out to all my pre-approved clients that haven't been active in the last week. And I say, is there any address you'd like to see in your mortgage coach just for fun? Like, no pressure, just to see, keep a pulse on interest rates, see what's happening. I'll plug in any new financing or negotiating strategies that we've seen become more prevalent in the last week. Just let me plug in an address for fun for you. What it takes us, what, like minutes to update that report for them and keep them engaged. Then their realtor partner gets an alert that they're looking at it, and they feel like we care. It's okay that you're not going to buy something this weekend. I just want to update the report for you for any address that looks even remotely promising. Well, this guy had said, you know, I don't have anything. I'm super discouraged right now by interest rates and payments. I said, okay, I hear you. Let's try to get on a phone call. He's a cop. It took us a couple days to get on a call, but he's telling me like, I'm not okay with these monthly payments. And I was like, okay, how did you feel about the payment on the 3-2-1 buy down? He's like, listen, I don't know what's going to happen with inflation and interest rates and what the Fed's doing to us, but I don't have a lot of faith that it's ever going to be okay again. And you're getting hit with this and you're like, oh shit, now I'm in a corner. Like he doesn't like the monthly payment with the loan, with the way interest rates are now. He doesn't like the monthly payment with my 3-2-1 buy down, which is like my secret weapon, because he's scared that he won't be able to refinance before it goes to the full note rate. You're in a corner. And I stop and I go, here's the thing, Sean. Why do you want to buy a house? He's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, the housing market, the state of the economy, the American dream, it's all changed a lot in the last few years. It's not what it used to be. You said that you have a great rental, you have a good size home, your rent is way lower than the mortgage payment's going to be. Why do you want to do this? And he's like, because I'm supposed to. I was like, no, you actually don't have to do shit you don't want to do, Sean. Like, this is your life. You can do what you want to do. And then he goes, well, the thing is I'm trying to find a place that I could like settle into long term, that I could make my own, and that I don't have to worry about moving ever again. And I was like, oh, well, that's a really great reason to do it then. So here's the thing. You don't have to believe that the Fed is going to be really good at handling monetary policy, because all we have to do is have interest rates come down for a little bit and then we refinance you. We don't need them to stay low. Did you think about that? And he's like, no, I didn't. I just figured when they come down, they're going to go back up again. I go, yeah, but we can refinance you when they're low. And he's like, oh, so what you're saying is I just need to be like more agile with my strategy. Like we'll just have to be in closer touch. And I go, yes, I will definitely be in touch with you after closing, and I will watch this for you, and we will refinance you. And then I could get into, well, what are you expecting your income to do over the next few years? Are you planning on retiring? He's like, no, I'm way too young for that. I was like, oh, so your income's also going to go up. But asking him the question, why do you want to buy, put me in a new position with him, right? And allowed for a more open conversation where he wasn't fighting me.
So
Curiosity is so important, right? I mean, that's the bottom line. I mean, what I'm hearing is the fact that you took the time to be curious and ask him questions and make them think. And I feel like oftentimes that's where loan officers get stuck, right? They're uncomfortable asking the questions, but if you can ask the question and then just pause and let the person think about it, I mean, that was just awesome. I love that.
Yeah, and I also want to just call out what I wrote down when I was just listening to her talk is extreme authenticity. And you know, she wasn't rent shaming. She wasn't trying to drive like, yeah, you should own. You know, she was just very humble, very authentic, and really just looking to find this person's why. And then when she found that why, now she is providing education, inspiration around that why. So, and I do think so often in mortgage, we're all just about like sell home ownership, sell by now, and not engaging in a real, you know, extremely authentic conversation.
We also are like, we're experts. I know everybody in the mortgage coach communities puts a lot of time into being an expert on what's happening with the economy, what's happening with inflation, what we're expecting, how this election may impact things. And so we're always very eager to jump in with the data. And I do think there's a time and place to jump in with that data. But before, I think we need to really, really listen so that we can find out what's the challenge that's actually holding them back.
So I'm going to have to jump at halfway point, and Todd's going to run this. And then hopefully, by the way, everyone on here, you're going to ask questions. You know, this is a mastermind. So the more you as an audience engage with us, the better. But what would be like an example of where, you know, people are not getting out of their own way to have the kind of success they have? Any examples come to mind?
So I get to coach loan officers on how to build a business around community, because that's the way I built my business. And a lot of times they'll tell me, you know, like, Well, I don't have the time to do it that way. I know a lot of times, even when we're trying to pre-approve someone really quickly, we've got to get back to the realtor. The realtor needs an answer yesterday because they only ever tell us that they need a pre-approval when they're trying to write an offer in 5 minutes. And they're like, well, I just don't have the time to like do a whole total cost analysis with them or put the video into the thing. And I'm like, you guys, it saves me so much time. I had a huge event yesterday. I had been out of the office traveling for other events and then to see family. I got home. I had 3 hours in the office. I needed to get a pre-approval out, and then I'm down to 30 minutes before I need to walk out the door to host a huge event. A lot of loan officers will tell me I don't have time to do a mortgage coach in that scenario. In my head, I'm thinking, thank God for mortgage coach right now. Like, I can get this person a really comprehensive analysis, show them 4 different potential financing strategies, hook them in so that they'll book a meeting with me. And I can stick the video on there so I can explain it on my time. I have time right now. I'm not going to have time the rest of the afternoon. So I'll put the video on here. I will walk them through this, and then I'll put a link to schedule a meeting. It worked beautifully. And then when the realtor walks into my event 2 hours later, she goes, she was so amazed at that. And she goes, and then I'm even more amazed because I know you had this huge event this afternoon. Do you guys want to see it though? Because like, it was a really cool way to show her stuff, but I messed up in the video. I started coughing. I had to drink my tea. I'm like, I'm sorry. And she even said when she texted me that night, she's like, I loved the video and seeing that there's a real human being on the other end of that loan application.
I love that. Do we want to see it? Was that like a trick question of some sort?
They're
Yeah,
like,
let's do a little virtual site visit and zoom into your laptop. Let's check it
okay,
out.
can you guys see it?
We see the actual advice engine, not the actual, yeah, but it looks like you're getting ready to click on it.
I'm hoping you'll
And
have audio when I play this video of me messing up.
yeah, we'll find out. And is this a link you could share with us so we could let people
Yeah.
listen to it? Okay, cool.
Hi, Melissa. Thank you for getting everything started so quickly. I'm Shivani. I wanted to introduce myself quickly. Hopefully we'll have the chance to meet in person.
Hey, by the way, stop it real quick. I want to teach you guys a hack and stop sharing your screen real quick. And for everyone listening, let me show you how, like, let's say you had a group of realtors and you wanted them to watch a video. Click share, but don't go all the way through. Just click the share button. And then you'll notice there's a little sound share where you could click sound share optimized for video clip. You see those little buttons?
Share sound optimized for video clip.
Boom. Now hit share, the share button, and play the video. Watch this, everyone.
Savannah, this is going to be super helpful in making sure you know
Boom.
exactly what to expect for monthly payment and cash to close, but also so that you can compare different financing strategies or negotiation strategies we can use with the seller. So for now, I'm using a price point of $500,000. I don't have a specific property plugged in, so I'm estimating really high for property taxes, assuming the home is brand new. I'm also estimating, sorry, pretty high for homeowners insurance, which we call hazard insurance. So I just wanted you to see how changing the down payment percentage or using a different loan program like USDA or the 3-2-1 buy down would affect your monthly payment and cash to close. To see a breakdown of the payments or the cash to close, click the more info button in the top right. Clicking on closing costs will bring up the same 4 loan options, but beneath each one, you'll see fee detail in blue. That'll itemize for you the costs that you want to keep in mind that come with buying a home, like title company fees. Sorry, I don't know why that happened. Your first annual homeowners insurance premium, I'm including transfer tax. Our bank fee of $9.95 is included. That way, when you're in the home screen and you see cash to close, it's the total amount you should be planning for that home. So the first 2 columns, because you have excellent credit, are conventional financing. That's an amazing loan program to utilize. Also, an amazing loan program is USDA. If the property qualifies as rural, and I can check every address for you, we can finance it with 0 down. So you just have your closing costs due at closing. The last program is a conventional loan, 3% down, where we do a temporary buy down. We basically calculate the payment difference as if your interest rate was 3 points lower for the first year, 2 points lower for the second, and 1 point lower for the third, before the remainder of your 30-year fixed, where you would just have the interest rate of 6.49%. We calculate what a difference that would make in your payment if the interest rates were lower like that for the beginning, and we ask the seller for a lump sum of money to help subsidize your mortgage payments, to make your mortgage payment with you for the first 3 years. The really popular thing about this program is that we do think you'll have the opportunity to refinance here in the next year or two. And that would be during your temporary buy down period. Also, say the refinance opportunity comes pretty early and like it's 12 months in, we still have a significant portion of those seller funds that were to help you make your mortgage payment. You don't lose them. If you refinance or sell and there's still money left from the seller, it gets applied as a principal buy down, which is my favorite part of the program. Now, this is a ton of information that I've dumped on you while coughing at you. So you're definitely going to have some questions for me. Let's set up a time to meet either here in the office or via Zoom, go over all your questions, go over your buying power, and talk about what our next steps look like. So I'll wait for you to schedule that and we'll go from there.
So do you guys
Wow.
see how like I messed up? Like I coughed, I stumbled on my words. People would have been like, I have to re-record that video. No, you don't. You want them to feel like they're sitting with you, having a real, natural conversation.
I think of that as like game film, and you can stop sharing your screen. If you don't mind sharing a link to the total cost analysis, we'll put a link to that down below. If you're watching this in YouTube or wherever you're watching it, we'll get that. But you're so right. Either one, so many people aren't going to do the video, like they're not getting out of their way and they're going to do it. And then to your point, 9 out of 10 people would have, oh, I got to redo this.
How
And
long
what
would it
you-
have taken to explain all that, typing it out?
Yeah. Yeah, no, super, super powerful, Shivani. I always love having you as a guest. You always inspire people and deliver a lot of great value. Todd, where do you want to go at this point with this mastermind?
Had myself on mute because I was opening up Shivani's link on my computer so I'd have it for later, and I didn't want it to start talking in the background. I mean, I think it's just a great point that, you know, again, we're all human, and Shivani's just pointing out the fact that here she is performing at a high level and not a perfectionist, right? And I think that's what gets in the way for a lot of us. I would include myself in there. You know, I laugh because I do my best not. I'm do my best not to re-record videos because I make mistakes all the time, as you all hear every week when we're on these conversations together. But I would just encourage you to think about that. I mean, we talked earlier about, you know, Shivani talked about being in that cul-de-sac, and I often find that that's the thing that stops a lot of you from doing what you know you need to do to get out there and build the business. I put it in the comments earlier. My good friend Michael Regan, who's a coach at Building Champions, always says complexity is the enemy of profitability. And so I think when we think about the fact that we're making things more difficult than they have to be, and then we're stopping ourselves from getting the profit that we're all after. So I just want to pile on and say that was awesome, Shivani. I think it was appreciate you sharing that with everyone, because I think hopefully that'll give a lot of people some inspiration to not worry about how perfect their next video is.
Yeah, there's tons of. Oh, go ahead, Dave.
No, you go, Shivani, and then I'll go.
I do have MCs where I didn't mess up, like where I delivered it perfectly. And I was like, I think I should show them the one where it was not perfect and it was more human, because even what I'm seeing, I do a lot of brand building on social media. That's how I've created my personal brand, and it's really transformed my business. I try to have videos that are not overproduced. I try to sprinkle in the ones where I don't have any makeup on, where I just look like a normal person. And I get inspiration from the other mortgage coach leaders. Like I've seen Denise come on here and say that sometimes she just puts on her baseball cap and gets the video out. People want to work with another human being. We know right now the studies have been done on social media and how it makes people feel. I just talked about how housing affordability is affecting their mental health. We know that people are like, consumer debt is at its highest point ever. We know that people mentally are having a hard time. We also know that AI is flooding in. Technology is overwhelming them. Social media is making them feel like shit. I think there's never been a time in history where the need for human connection was higher. So anytime you can be a human to someone else, there's no greater gift really that you could give anybody than to coexist with them as another human being, to join with them on their journey, to make them feel seen, to slow down enough to give them a chance to be heard, or to show them that, hey, I'm just a human too. I'm just trying to get through the day, just like you're trying to get through the day. I'm poking my nose and giving you a financial colonoscopy. Let me just tell you and show you I'm not some like scary dude in an office with a tie up to here. I'm a human being and I want to help you.
You always inspire me. So I want to push everyone one more time. what's that one thing? Kathy said consistently processing. Candace said calling past clients and not feeling like I'm being annoying, asking for a referral. So, and we've all been there. Now, I will tell you, part of it, confidence comes from when you truly feel uniquely valuable to people. Like Shivani knows, like she works on herself to be an incredible listener, to be incredibly valuable. She's done thousands of mortgage coach total cost analysis. So she knows that, hey, my advice makes a difference. The way I listen and the way I teach and educate, like I guarantee you don't feel like you're being annoying calling past clients. You feel like you're being a savior to them. You feel like you're being a counselor to them. You feel like you're being a guide to them. Is that fair to say?
Well, I think we can all get in our head sometimes and like not want to make the calls. We don't want to bother people. We think, oh, I'm calling them to make sure that they use me as their lender going forward so that they don't think that we're done. And we think, you get in your head, you're like, dude, this call's self-serving. I feel horrible. I don't want to make these calls. I blocked 2 hours to do this today and that sucks. Once I start doing the call and I realize like, oh, I just had a conversation with them and they asked me for something I was able to help with. I was able to recommend someone or be a connector, or I was able to give them some advice, or I was able to take the stress of whatever they'd heard in the news about interest rates coming down and now they got to try to figure out when to refinance. I removed the stress from them and told them that I'm watching this for you. Once you start doing the call, you're like, oh my gosh, like I'm a resource to people. I have something to offer. I'm valuable. They want to hear from me.
Yeah, I love that. So right before I leave, Mira just said, perfect mastermind for International Women's Day. And guys, every day is Women's Day, but there's no doubt today is a special day to recognize women internationally. And Shivani, I just want to tell you from the bottom of my heart how grateful I am that you lean into this community. When I invite you to be, you say yes. When I say, hey, will you fly to Vegas and showcase, you always say yes. You're a tremendous role model in the mortgage industry. And thank you for being our guest on today, International Women's Day. Pretty cool.
I love that. That was perfectly timed. We didn't do it on purpose, but it's just ideal.
Yeah, no doubt.
I always want to support you, Dave. Like what you've done with Mortgage Coach has been pivotal to my career. And now you've done community in such an amazing way. Now I get to be friends with Todd. I get to be friends with Deb. My Future is Female event yesterday, Deb donated $1,000 to the charity. I only know her because of Dave in the Mortgage Coach community. Jeremy Forcier, who I only know because of the Mortgage Coach community, drove from California to attend the event. Like, this industry can be so backstabbing and lonely and shitty. And from the beginning of my career, these calls have been like a space for growth, a space for us to look out for each other, a space for us to say, hey, you should do this better. You could learn from me in this way. I could learn from you. I mean, I can't even imagine doing this business without this community.
Thank you so much. I love this community. Everyone who is tuned in is watching this. Make sure you share this. This is a incredible interview. Let's make this one of the top 10 interviews of the year. So please, if you're getting value, give it a like on social media and make sure you share it for all the branch managers every Monday on LinkedIn. This month, I'm going to be giving a message to branch managers. And I just want to remind you guys that you are the leader of the loan officers you serve, and they need sales meetings. They need inspiration. I do think this would be a great call to do a branch managers meeting with next week. Make this something that you've watched, you've called out the parts that you think are most valuable, and then you're spoon feeding this, to the mortgage professionals that you serve in your market. So Todd, I'm going to jump into the next call and I'll let you take over the leadership role of this call. And thank you both.
Paul says to not forget to make me the host on Zoom so you don't hang up on everybody.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me to do that.
That's all right. And I'm gonna pick Shivani's brain about some TCAs for a minute as you're heading off. I loved it because you said before we started that doing TCAs saves you time and makes you human. So we saw how it makes you human because you were coughing on there. And I love the fact, I think most people talk about that a TCA is a time-consuming thing. They're not good at it because they haven't practiced it enough. And then you even said, hey, I call my clients on Fridays and say, hey, well, I got you on the phone. Is there some address you want me to pop in a TCA? And I don't hear loan officers talk about that. So talk about how you use it to save time.
Here, I should explain that here in Washoe County, our property taxes don't reset at closing. So the property taxes make a big difference on the monthly payment. So plugging in specific properties for my buyers is huge because the different neighborhood, it's not just the HOA, it's not just that there's, different neighborhoods will allow different loan programs to be utilized, but the taxes make a difference on the monthly payment. So it allows me to connect with people and to help them get beyond whatever headline they heard about interest rates that week and just see what actually happened to their monthly payments. I love following up with people when I can offer something of value. I hate just calling and being like, can I please sell you a loan today? That makes me want to kill myself.
Right. Just
But when I
checking
can
in.
call and offer something of value that would be helpful to them, I can do that all day. I can bring myself to do that. I got past a mental roadblock of hating calling people because I felt like I was bothering them by finding a way to call them with value. And then I found there wasn't any problem in calling. I'm happy to call all day if I can offer something of value.
Yeah, I love that. One of the people just asked on when you ask a realtor what their biggest challenge is and they say not enough inventory or higher interest rates, how are you replying?
I think our realtors need a lot of coaching, you guys, on how to talk to people, how to talk to their clients, how to support us and what we're trying to accomplish with the client, which is to help them get from point A, which is where they are right now, to point B, which is whatever they say their goal is. And so I think we have to tell our realtors to slow down enough to understand the client themselves. Because if the realtor is not connecting with the client, we're doomed. It doesn't matter how much education we do on the finance side of this and the improvement in their net worth and the return on investment. If they go to their realtor and the realtor's like, well, there's nothing in that price point, so we're just gonna have to wait, then we're doomed, right? We've got to work together with the realtor to help them see okay, when someone tells you that they're scared of interest rates, odds are interest rates are not actually the problem. That's their ego talking. We need to get them to talk more so that we can find out what the real fear is behind their objection. This is my favorite thing that I coach loan officers and realtors on in my Mind Over Markets program is finding the fear behind someone's objection. The housing crash one is the easiest one to explain. All the time we heard people say, I don't want to buy now, and then have home values go down. Here's something that you guys can all write down, and you can ask this question in a million scenarios. Higher interest rates. I hear you. You don't like them. What does that mean for you, though? Housing crash. I hear you. That's scary. What does that mean for you, though? And they're like, well, I wouldn't want to buy a house and have the value go down. No, that wouldn't be cool. But did you know that nothing happens? You want to jump in with how a housing crash is mathematically impossible and how it's not likely going to happen. And the value of real estate always goes up. It might be a bumpy road, but it always goes up. We want to jump in with the data as an expert. Instead, challenge yourself. This will be a challenge until you get good at it and say, okay, that's a real concern. Good for you for thinking about that. There's not a lot of first-time homebuyers that are looking at the historical value of real estate. So I'm really impressed that you've thought about that. Can you tell me what it would mean if it went down? I swear to God, you guys, they think that if the value goes down, the bank is going to come and take their baby's crib and put it outside in the rain. They don't understand that if they just keep making their mortgage payment, nothing will happen. And that it is our job to make sure that they could afford that mortgage payment in tough times. That's why we give them this financial colonoscopy to get them the loan.
Yeah, I think you said the thing that's really become evident to me, with Deborah and I teaching our exactly what to say certifications is that we're all really freaking smart and our realtors are all really freaking smart. And we just like to tell people what they need to know. And, it's this whole idea of curiosity. Like I loved your questioning, right? What does that mean for you though? I mean, think about asking questions. Most of the time their questions are coming out of some fear that they're not willing to talk about. And we just show up and tell them, well, inventory's low, rates are going to go down, everyone's going to buy, prices are going to go up. And we just tell them that versus asking them questions that help them determine for themselves that that's going to happen. Just things like, well, what do you understand about how interest rates work? Or what do you understand about inventory when more people can qualify for rates? Or what do you think will happen, with all the rest of the buyers like you who want to wait till rates are lower? And then you just have to shut up and let the person talk and then ask them the next question behind it. But ultimately, if you walk them down the path, they always feel smarter. So I love the fact that you're taking so many times, and those are all really, unique questions that I haven't heard before, but I think are so great.
I want to just give people a chance to actually say, and they may not have processed this in their head yet, right? So if they could do it out loud with us, we get a lot of information that'll help us advise them better, but they get to a better place by the time they leave our office.
Right, which is what you hope for, right? I mean, your whole goal is to make someone better off when they, by choosing you, right? I mean, I always never want to have an ego, but, I kind of felt that the reason I wanted to make sure I followed up with that client, wasn't just so I could help my realtor pay their mortgage, because of the fact they trust me with that, but I felt that my advice mattered, right? Dave always says that my advice matters. And, you're pretty dang good, right? All of the rest of you are pretty dang good too. And if your advice matters, you want that client to hear it from you versus, some online lender who sucks.
Because we don't realize the impact that will have, right? Or maybe we do. I know I've seen home ownership change the course of people's lives. I've seen my borrowers, because I've been doing this 11 years now. So I've worked with families through multiple moves, through them making more money, but building wealth through their home too. And then moving up into these next homes and getting to be the person that they ask, like, should I really be doing this right now? Like, you have the people who, I have clients right now. Today, they are listing their $1.2 million home that they bought with an FHA loan 8 years ago, $10,000 out of pocket. They're now selling it for 1.2 million and buying a $2.5 million home. And they have a little bit of imposter syndrome. They're like, can we afford this? Like, this is the street we used to call Doctor's Row. Like, what do we get? Is this, Shivani, should we be doing this? Would you tell us if we shouldn't be doing this? And like, I want to say, your DTI is like 28%. You could do this. But I have to realize what's happening to them is bigger than that, right? They're selling their home that they brought their kids home to. They had their babies in. They're taking this home and it's becoming a house now. People are going to walk through there, judge every decision they've ever made, and not treat it like it's their sacred space. And then they're moving into this next thing and they're wondering, like, am I screwing myself over in the long run? Will I regret this? Am I jumping too fast? They're my age. We lived through the housing crash. Slowing down enough to be human and get on their level, it makes our job so much more fulfilling, but also it establishes a client who will be your client for life. I think that when we can see the opportunities to do this, it's not just going to help us build bigger businesses, guys. It's going to help us have longevity in this business, because this job could be really taxing. Burnout is a real thing. It's hard to keep doing this every day when every advice we've gotten on what's going to happen with the market and interest rates has been wrong. We could get discouraged too, but let's focus on who we can help if we continue showing up.
Yeah, I think that's so important. It's funny. I try to lead by example, right? I don't do loans anymore. People think I'm a has-been, although I did help 686 clients during COVID secretly, from my Airstream with my wife. But I dug in last year when I was talking to the community about how to add 100K in 2024 by reaching out to past clients in the database. So it's funny. One of the clients that I first worked with over 20 years ago. So Shivani, she's a kid. She's only been in the business 11 years, right? I started back right after 9/11, and I'm laughing. I've done 8 loans for this guy and his family, and I've got a call with him right after this. So I'm kind of excited to catch up with him. But you have to understand, if you don't take the time to ask your clients questions and connect like that, for me, that's the thing I love the most about the mortgage business, was the friends that I made by taking time to walk him through it. And ultimately, I know he'll take my call. I just text him and said, hey, when can we schedule a call? Because that's, for me, I've committed to my team to follow up with 5 clients that I served in the past. Guess what? They all have 3% mortgages, because that's when I did loans. None of them have these new high rate mortgages that you all get to refinance over the next while. Although they all forget they have debt. When I talked to him, I used my Josh Metal super question. Tell me about the debt outside your mortgage. And he said, I've got a credit card, but I'm going to pay it off with my bonus at the end of the year. I talked to him maybe in September or November of last year. And then later in the conversation, he said, oh yeah, it was a crazy year. Both of our cars died and we had to buy 2 new cars. And I said, oh, did you pay cash? Knowing that he didn't pay cash. He's like, oh, I got 2 car loans. And I'm like, wait, you liar. You just told me that you have no debt. And now you actually have 2 car loans. And so, worked into that conversation, because I saw your brother Arjun post a video, and I forgot what he called it. Like, what's your combined blended household
blended rate?
Household blended rate. I thought that video was genius. I was telling my team about it this morning. Now I'm going to write that down because I couldn't remember household blended rate. But again, it's a great opportunity to converse. And if you know your clients well enough and you can have these types of conversations, you can totally change their lives. I mean, you change those people's lives. I mean, the $2.5 million house I'm sure they never imagined that.
No. And I think it's our job to let them imagine these things, right? If it's not on their radar, when we ask them, why do you want to buy now? Well, it's what I thought I was supposed to do. Renting is bad. we can help them put together a dream. Like we can help them dream bigger. Sure, we're going to buy a house right now. It's not going to check every box for you, and the interest rate's going to be 7%. I know you're not enthused about that, but let's make a bigger dream. Let's look a couple more years down the line to where this is going to take you. If we just want to sell mortgages, then that's a tough, tough gig, man. And it's not the one that I grew up dreaming that I was going to do, was sell an
Is it
interest rate.
boring?
I think we have to sell ourselves. We have to sell the ability of having someone who's on your team.
Yeah, I think that's so key. So talk about, you said a couple things earlier that intrigued me that I wanted to follow up on. Your Futures Female event, you talked about that you want to build your business around community. So is that the community that you built your business around, or is there a different community that you were talking about?
I've created 2 communities that I've built my business around. The first is Mortgage and Mimosas, which was inspired by the Mortgage Nerd. Now I've built that out. I call it the hottest real estate clique in Reno. I make it exclusive. We get together twice a year, and once is always on Valentine's Day. And it's in a super fancy upscale venue here. They get dressed up, they come take pictures, there's loud music playing, they have mimosas, and then I sit them down and I educate them on something mortgage related. A market update is always there, and something marketing related. And I limit it. I say there can only be 50 realtors in the room, and the day I announce it, it's packed. And that's what I want. I want it to be exclusive. I want to feel like not everybody gets to come, because the truth is, guys, if we're being really honest, my whole life, I felt like I don't know where I fit in. Like through school, getting bullied, then college, then after college, then getting into the real estate industry. Reno is totally a good old boys town. People do business, not just with the people they went to kindergarten with, the people their dads went to kindergarten together is how business relationships are formed in my town. So I'm like, I don't know where I fit in here. I don't feel like cool anywhere. So then I was like, fuck this. I'll make my own communities where I can be the center of it, but then I can grow the community the same way you guys have done with Mortgage Coach, where the members start benefiting each other. And it really spawns out, right? So that's what I did with Mortgage and Mimosas. And that's to grow a realtor base, because we need leads from realtors. And then I created the Futures Female, which is a consumer event. Tons of realtors come, tons of real estate investors come, but also tons of clients, prospective buyers, aspiring investors come. And so this is another community with me at the center, but now the investors are connecting and doing deals together. Or this investor who has $500,000 a year of passive income from real estate properties is taking these newbies who are 22 years old out to coffee, and they're connecting and learning from each other. But everyone's like, oh, thank you, Shivani, for creating this thing and building this community out. And for me, it's like, okay, so when the market is shitty and interest rates were 8% last year, what do I have to keep showing up and talking about? Oh, the Futures Female is coming up in 2 weeks. Come hang out with us. Let us provide you a space where there's people who are lifting as they climb.
So walk me through a little bit of detail. So it sounds, if I remember correctly, it's a investor focused. It's a wealth building event that event. And then you also mentioned the charitable part where D-Bird kicked in some money. So walk me through that piece as well.
So I started the Futures Female 3 years ago. We did the 7th one yesterday. I do it twice a year. I started it just as an online channel. It was online. It was towards the end of the pandemic. People weren't doing things in person. It was a $25 ticket, and I would have a real estate investor and some other experts, like a trust attorney, a property manager, an insurance agent, 1031 exchange specialist. I just had always one investor and some experts come on. Then we expanded it to and I wanted it to benefit the Women and Children's Center of the Sierra. So we're going to empower women as real estate investors. And then to answer your question, Todd, we're going to support local women and children. So this charity, they're really well known for the free diapers in the food bank. People think that's all they do. They give handouts, but they don't. They give a hand up. So when a woman goes in there to get the free diapers, they start engaging her with and connecting her with the services she needs to climb her way out of poverty. And their success stories will make you cry. It's insane. And so I was like, let's do this. It's all about women. We're going to empower women with financial education. We're going to support a charity that's helping women get out of poverty. Goes perfect together. The event grew, and I started doing it in the office. I would rent chairs and cram 70 people in here. Then the panel got to the point where people are like, I'm so fired up by the panel, but now I need help. I need to know how-tos. So then we made it a half-day workshop and started renting out a massive venue in town. And yesterday was probably the best one yet. Now it's evolving to be like empowering women in general. So we had a therapist speak at the end about your relationship with money. We still had the investors. We got this like high level, super intense presentation on trusted investing. We learned about Section 8 myth busting. We also heard real stories about like what I wish I knew about real estate before I got married, how that would have made my divorce better and I would have come out okay. Like people were really honest and raw with each other. And the vibe in the room is amazing because it's women lifting each other up. There was 5 dudes in the room too. There'll be more because the future is female and we're empowering women, but the word women includes men. So we're inclusive by nature.
I love that. And are you still charging for the event?
Yep. So now we charge $97 for the half day workshop. Every single dollar of that goes directly to the charity. So it cost me money to put this event on. The return is like tenfold.
I love it. I love it. So I'll tell a quick story on what my team does. We had a business development manager. Her name's Susie Lavenda, and she read an article by a gal named Katie Lance. Some of you may know her in the real estate world. She has a lot of social media, and she basically said, where are all the leaders, the women realtors in real estate? And really just talked about how not all women realtors get along with each other and support each other. And so I just hired Susie. We didn't really know each other that well. And she called me and said, hey, by the way, I'm going to put on this new event. It's called Women of Strength. And I've sort of already committed to Katie Lance to fly her out here and have her speak. And I hope it's okay. And I was like, yes, I'm all in. And, it's funny, I've got 3 daughters. So, I'm a girl dad. And I was like, absolutely. And so it's always odd. The first one, I was the only male there. And we sell tables for the event and we give all the money to charity that we get. It always costs us a little bit of money too, beyond what it would be, but we'll have 500 mainly female realtors all in a room. I don't know who the people are. They normally fly in to make people cry. I know our guest speakers this year are flying in from Australia. It's a morning event, and we have title companies and real estate leaders who buy tables at the event to bring their top women realtors to that I get to speak to. Now, the other interesting part is that every year we always sell between 3 and 5 tables to other mortgage companies that will bring, a loan officer will bring their best realtors to hear our event. And we're not out there to steal their agents.
Cool.
We're just trying to support the community. So think about it. You can start something super small. That was a 100-person event. And now we have, Susie always says it's going to be smaller this year. We're only going to have 400, but we always end up with like 500 plus. So think about, is there something that you can do unique that doesn't have to cost a lot to start out? You can charge people for if it's enough value, and you're gonna have people who just love that. There's realtors who have no idea who I am personally. They've never met me, but they've been to that event, and so our team calls with a pre-qual call, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you guys do Women of Strength," and so it's also given us a good reputation in the community where people give us, I like to think my team's kicks ass, but they're given extra love by the real estate community because we do what we do.
That's the key. That is so cool out of it. There's so much to learn from you guys. We need to connect so I can hear more. But
Absolutely.
I love
I
that
always
you're
laugh
doing
because I only see Kelly Zitlow at Modern Mortgage Summit, and I see her at Women of Strength because she's typically invited by a title company or someone always there. And it's always kind of fun that, like, I love that Jeremy showed up at your event as well. So, I mean, I would just encourage you all to think about that. And I think the other thing that you and your, obviously you're in a talented family, the personal brand piece. So the person who is struggling with, well, what is my brand? I mean, how would you kick someone off down that path?
So this is something that I love helping people figure out. Like, who are you as a person? How do we find your guiding principles as a human being and use those to be the guiding principles for your business? Because you are the only you, right? There's so many other loan officers in your market alone, let alone in the whole country. But you're the only you. I think that people get really domed out about figuring out what their unique value proposition is. And I love coaching on it because I had to sit down and like internally think about this long and hard. And then I realized like I'm an extremely loyal person and I'm very feisty. I translated that into how that helps borrowers. Because if I've given you my word that we're going to do something, we're going to do it. If I've pre-approved you, if I said we're getting this loan program, if I said we're closing on this day, you want me in your corner because I will make sure it happens because I am intensely and fiercely loyal to you. So I had to think about who I was as a person. And then once I figured out who I was as a person and how that made me a better loan officer, then I could start branding the shit out of that and pushing that message out all over in video, in written content, on social media, in person, at pickup and drop off for my kids' school. Like I knew who I was and who I wanted to convey to people so they could see if they vibed with that.
Yeah, I love that. I laughed. My first year in the mortgage business, I was a stay-at-home dad. I was getting my MBA at night. That was not very useful. Well, actually, it was pretty useful, but I didn't need it to do what I was doing, and stumbled in the mortgage business. But that was kind of my unique thing. I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to take your call, but you may hear a couple of screaming, kindergartner and second grader in the back seat of the car, and that really endeared me to people. My initial group of loans I did were for all the stay-at-home mom friends I hung out with, and then all the people that I was getting my MBA with and professors. And so if you know your community and your value, and then that, it's kind of funny because I always was into the idea of financial literacy then. And so you fast forward to now with First Home IQ and what Kristen, Dave, and I are doing there, and all the 100+ now of you who are ambassadors that we're grateful for. I think it's just that whole idea of, what's that message you want to convey? And I mean, you're unabashedly, I don't know what the right word is. I don't even know the word. Unabashedly, is that the word? You?
Unapologetically.
Undeniably. Well, unapologetically. There we go. That sounds better. I'm like, I don't know. My vocabulary is not working today, Shivani. I don't know why. But I think that's the key, right? Is just one more thing of trying to make sure that you uniquely do that. What else would you say has made the difference for you in this market where other people are lacking confidence, that's really given you the ability to keep pushing through?
You're playing a different game, right? Once you've built a community that you're at the center of, and now it's like spawned all these branches, and the branches are growing leaves, and the leaves are growing fruit, but it all comes back to you. You have to guide people through any market, right? Because it's all around you. They're looking at you to be their source of calm. And so you have to continue to show up. But when you continue to show up with the information, even when things aren't great, then when things are great and it's the right time for them to buy or sell, and you show up with a call to action, you've poured enough in, right, to take some back. And that's what I'm playing right now. The game I'm playing is I'm here when you're ready to buy. I'm here all the time to educate you. I'm here all the time to help you grow as a person. As loan officers, we have a really unique viewpoint on people's finances, and the things we get to learn about money just through real estate is amazing, right? Like, because of my job as a loan officer, I have a pretty vast knowledge on taxes. I can navigate some crazy tax returns. I've worked with some real estate developers, and their tax returns are a work of freaking art. So when we meet with our CPA, I start talking to the CPA like way too fast for my husband. I'm like, just shh, I'll explain it to you later, because we're speaking the same language. Did I ever imagine that I'd be like an expert on tax code? Not saying that I am, just saying that as a loan officer, I've gotten a really good view of that. As a loan officer, I have a really good understanding how people's 401k is going to work if they want to make a withdrawal. I have a really good understanding of what's happening in the market to all these people's 401ks. I don't know if we give ourselves enough credit that because of the position we have to take in people's finances, we get such a cool overview of learning financial literacy. And then that puts us in a position to offer so much value to future clients. I'll have clients call me. This was brought up on the panel yesterday. One of the investors said the thing that really bothered her was before she became a realtor, she sold a couple houses. She goes, not one realtor ever asked me if I'd thought about keeping that house and making it a rental property. And I was saying, when I talk to people all the time, if they're a high wage earner and they're not sure what to do with that house, the departing primary, I'm like, you need some kind of tax shelter. You should keep this thing so that you can put it on your Schedule E. Yes, those will be passive losses against your active income, and we'll have to carry them forward unless, hey, your wife doesn't work. Let's make her a designated real estate professional. So now you can take an active loss against your active income, and you don't have to keep bending over for the IRS because you got no other choice in your W-2 job. Think about how you could provide value to people like that. You already can. You have the knowledge in here. You just have to get out of your own way and be confident in saying it.
Yeah, I think confidence goes a long way and experience goes a long way. I'm really glad to hear that Caitlin put in that unabashedly really is a word. So that's good, without embarrassment or shame. See, I felt like I was onto something. I felt like I was onto something, but you just nailed it, right? I mean, the experience that you have from doing loans is, puts you above and beyond the average person. And we all learn a lot of our habits from those around us, typically from our parents. And what I've learned from my parents, and they're fine, they're well off financially. However, if they would have learned the things that we all know from this community, and put them into action, they would be way further ahead financially than they are. And I'm just grateful for the fact that, you all heard my story before. I literally bought MortgageCoach my first day in the business. My wife is like, you're an idiot. You're spending money and you haven't made any money. And, but it was a game changer for me as I did annual mortgage reviews for my boss as interest rates were coming down for 30 days until he kicked me off of his team and told me to go do it myself because he was slowing me down. And so I would just encourage you all to think about, when Shivani's talking about these things and the conversations she's having, oftentimes we're afraid to have those, but she's not. And you don't have to be if you're knowledgeable and be confident in the knowledge that you're given.
100%. I think
All
that
right. So
we can
go
pour
ahead.
into ourselves to get to that place, guys. Like you think, oh, here's Shivani on this call. She's not me. Why not? Why can't you do exactly what I'm doing? I don't have any magic powers. I'm not a superhero. I'm just like you. I wake up every day with the same insecurities that you wake up with. I just choose to get out of my own way. You could do the same thing.
Yeah, I think that's such an important message for everyone to hear. So, all right. So with the last couple of minutes, what are you most excited about? Now your event's behind you. So what's like the next thing that's super exciting to you?
I'm fired up to come to the Modern Mortgage Summit and talk to you guys about getting rid of these mental roadblocks and exiting that mental cul-de-sac once and for all. I have a coaching program called Mind Over Markets, and we're launching live sessions on Tuesday where you can get together in a small group with other realtors and loan officers. I'll walk you through my coaching program on how you understand your unique value proposition, you build a community around that, and then you attract people who want to work with you. Like they come to you, they want to work with you. And you don't just have clients, you have loyalty for life from these people. So I'm starting that on Tuesday. The live sessions will be once a week. We meet it's Zoom, but it's in Kajabi. So it's a live session. And you get to work through the course with me with live feedback. And because you guys are my mortgage coach community, there's a special discount code. They'll share that with you guys. It's IG Click, and you can find the course it's called Mind Over Markets. You can find it on my website, ShivaniPeterson.com.
All right, ShivaniPeterson.com. IG Click. That's your code that gets them a discount.
Yep, like Instagram Click.
All right, Instagram Click. I love that. I mean, that's super cool. I'm glad I asked that question. I knew you were excited about Modern Mortgage Summit, but you should definitely be more excited about your cool new program, Mind Over Markets. I know you launched a program last year at Modern Mortgage Summit, which I had a lot of friends who went through and said was amazing. And so excited for that. So really, let's kind of just wrap up here. We got a couple minutes left, and let's just sort of come up with some action plans that you should all take. Number one is Dave already asked you, share this video. It was absolutely worth your time, and it'd absolutely be someone else in the industry's time. That way we can push Shivani's video up into the top 10 for the year. It's only the third month of the. There's always an advantage when you come on early, because if you're the person that comes on in December, you're never going to have the top 10 video. So this is definitely good, but let's do that. I think this was super valuable. Number two is, really think about what we talked about. Shivani talked about using TCAs to actually save time. Most of you tell me that they take you too much time. I always say they take you too much time because you're not good at it, because you haven't done enough of them. But ultimately, I already told you, I started doing TCAs literally right when I got in the business. And for me, that was the reason I'm still in the business. It was just a game changer. And then I really think just go through these ideas of what Shivani talked about. How can you build a community like she's built, right? And she already said, hey, I did the mimosa thing, but I got that from the nerd, right? There's so many great ideas here that you can do. If you're in Reno, don't do the same thing Shivani's doing, but if you're anywhere else, you can do it. But there's something else you could even do if you're in the Reno market. So I would just encourage you to think about that and think bigger, right? Look at the event that Shivani's grown from a online event into something that's in person, that even Jeremy Forcier drove to, and all these folks that we know in the industry are supporting. So I would just encourage you to think through all of that. And of course, I should throw out there, modernmortgagesummit.com one last time. We definitely want to see how we can impact you there. All right, Shivani, what are your closing?
Hang out with me. We'll take a selfie. Get to the Modern Mortgage Summit in person if you can.
Yeah, I think it'll be, I'm always excited. I always feel when I see the people that in life that I see online all the time, it's just kind of fun to catch up and then really just meet new people. I met some great people last year that I had never met before, who came as attendees, and it's a little bit different than most events with hundreds of people, since there are 60 chairs there. That's all we're going to have. So that should be a lot of fun. Thank you all for being here. If you are watching this in the YouTube channel, give it a like down below and hit that subscribe button above. Shivani Peterson, check out her website. Use the code IGClick, jump into her program. Let's support those who are supporting our community. Appreciate you all. On behalf of Dave and the Trust Engine community, myself and the Win by Noon crew, thanks, Shivani. Thanks, everyone, for being here and watching this, and we'll see you next week.
Happy
Take
Friday.
care.